Barefoot hiking is a game changer, but if you don't know where to start, join me for today's hike up to a beautiful Hawaiian waterfall, where you'll get the tips and physical and mental benefits even Harvard is talking about. I'm going to share the progression that took me from walking around like a newborn baby deer to completing 2 Naked and Afraid challenges completely barefoot and living off-grid barefoot in the wilderness of Maine for months. And I'm doing this so that you can go outside and feel better. Hey Adventure Buddy, I'm Sarah. And the 2 things I wish I knew when I started my barefoot journey years ago was number 1, the 3 S's, and number 2, how big an impact this has on your mental health and sense of well-being. Let's start with surface. I recommend you start with surface because it helps build calluses on your feet and it helps you get comfortable with just being barefoot before you take on the harder tasks of stability and speed. So I recommend you start in grass or asphalt or dirt and then progress to things like smooth rocks, large rocks, and then the hardest thing, which is gravel. Tuning into your surface is actually a sensory grounding thing. This is something we teach people in therapy to help them calm down. I also have these barefoot shoes, which are a great medium. These are pretty new. I actually wear these to the gym. As you can see, they're very clean. But these are great because they allow your foot to splay out. They are very thin, so they help you stabilize. And if you don't want to be barefoot, this is a great way to start hiking, quote unquote, barefoot without wearing 5-finger shoes, which I am not a fan of. If you want to know why, ask me in the comments. Now that you have the first S of surface covered and you know to go from soft to hard to uneven to jaggedly uneven, let's talk about the second S, because it's actually not the pain of being barefoot that throws most people off, it's the instability. The second S is stability, and it is all about injury prevention and boosting your adaptability. And the more stable you get on your feet, again using the same surface progression, the more confident you'll be when you're walking. And it stabilizes more than your mind. A lot of people are into this because it stabilizes their body. When you walk barefoot, you start using these other muscles that we stopped using that lead to poor foot health and feet that look like this. And the more stable you get on your feet, the more confident you feel because you're not walking around like this. You're able to look up and you really feel like you belong in the natural environment. And when I started doing this in my early 20s, I had really bad anxiety. I was constantly overwhelmed, and I would go barefoot hiking and this magical thing happened in my brain where all of a sudden, instead of going in 1,000 directions, my brain was focused on one thing. Was focused on the sensation of my feet on the ground. I was completely present in my body. That's really hard to come by in modern life. But even if you don't relate to anxiety or overwhelm or PTSD, it's really nice to have something that is grounding. One of the nicknames for barefoot hiking is grounding or earthing because it literally just connects you to the earth. It anchors you, it grounds you mentally, physically, and for a lot of people, spiritually. And if you're thinking you're gonna feel self-conscious walking around barefoot, or maybe it's too cold, or you're just not ready for that yet, stay tuned to the end because I have a sneaky 4th S that I can't believe nobody is talking about. It is one of the best things to transition to barefoot hiking all the time. It's an uncanny feeling, and once you experience it, you won't go back. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I feel like a little leopard with like paws. Speaking of leopard paws, before I give you some quick pro tips and the secret 4th S, let's not forget speed. This is the last of your 3 S's in a barefoot progression, and this is going to come naturally. You don't need to try to go fast. In fact, if you are trying, you're doing this wrong. The whole point of barefoot hiking is to get in tune with your environment, to build those stabilizing muscles, and the rest will come, especially if you follow these final rapid fire tips. Oh, by the way, your feet are gonna get tired as you're doing this, which is why at the very end, I'm gonna show you one of my favorite tools for barefoot hiking recovery. First of all, I know if you're anything like me, like I was so worried I looked like a crazy person. I have found nobody cares. I have walked barefoot all over this country. The people who do talk to me are usually very intrigued. And then the people who don't talk to you, honestly, I find some people don't even notice. And if I'm being real honest, I think a few people are like kind of envious because of how wild and free I seem. One of the best ways to build up to being really comfortable and doing something like 7 miles barefoot with a backpack on, which I did in the video that's gonna pop up here in a second, is by going slow. You really want to do incremental progress. Similar to rock climbing, you're building these really small stabilizing muscles and even tendon strength, so you don't want to overdo it. And last but not least, this is the fourth secret S, it's wool socks. So if it's too cold or your feet are sensitive or you're just not there yet, wool socks are actually one of the best ways to train your feet for uneven surfaces and your muscles for stability without the pain of the surface you're walking on. Last but not least, get yourself a lacrosse ball to help your feet recover via self-massage. So give these a try, and before you know it, you might be doing a hike like this one, where I walked 7 miles barefoot over sharp lava rock, training for Naked and Afraid in Hawaii with a 35-pound pack on. Or if you're in the mood to level up a different skill, you can watch this video on how to make a fire for every single level. Either way, happy trails.